Hello, hello, hello. How is everybody today on this fine Wednesday? Just look at the charts. We're starting to have a little bit of a recovery. I'm so excited, you guys. I am so excited, but I don't know if we should get excited just yet. But I am super excited about some other things. This show is brought to you by Gockstein Media. This is Crypto News with Julie Kennis. I am your host, Julie Kennis. And today we are going to be talking about the crypto news. A lot of breaking news, a lot of stuff about trade tariffs and things like that, a lot of doom and gloom, a lot of stuff that people are scared about. But never fear, guys, because we have conviction, and this is the buying opportunity of the century. And I have something else very exciting for you all today. We are going to have a special guest. So sit tight, because I am bringing you someone new and exciting. I'm so excited, you guys. Okay, this is my friend Deepan Connection. Hello, welcome.
Hello. Thanks for having me on. Very exciting day today with all the news that's been breaking. And it's funny, we're talking about the markets pumping. We've been waiting like the last 3 months. We're like, okay, when's it going to happen? So, but thanks for having me on, and love the energy you always bring.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, I try. I always feel like leading into my live streams, I'm like, oh, can I do it today? And I always muster the energy. And I swear sometimes afterwards, I'd fall down and take a nap afterwards. It takes everything out of me. But I bring it.
You do. And I joined your live stream last night when you were going on your walk. And, I appreciate you burning those calories for me. And I woke up feeling like a renewed person. So
yes. We are into the biohacking. So we do a little bit of fasting and a little bit of exercising in the evening, things like that. So yeah, it was fun to, I think I did 6 miles total yesterday, 6.5 miles yesterday. So yeah, I did good. I was happy. I felt hungry today though. I'm not going to lie. I woke up today and I was like, yeah, I was ready for a meal. Anyway, so I'm super excited to have you here. Deepan Connection is involved with real world assets. And as you guys know, and as we've talked on the channel, involved with digital assets and with what's going on the legislative level at the White House, there is a lot of buzz around real world assets. We talk about that a lot here. So I wanted to invite our friend to come and talk about that with us today. So
awesome. Absolutely.
Tell me.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No. Tell me a little bit about you and Deepan and how long ago you got into Deepan and a little bit about what you got going on now.
For sure. So, I was in the solar industry before, and I know, I believe you're in the solar industry as well, right? So yeah. I spent like 15 years in solar, originally in St. Louis, then I moved up in New York. Then I worked for the manufacturer. I worked for SunPower and managed most of the Midwest. So I moved up to the manufacturer, did a lot of sales trainings. And it was really during COVID. I was in St. Louis. I got COVID, and I'm like, well, now I live in Chicago now. So it's like, I got to get back to Chicago. I don't want to get people sick, So I was sitting in quarantine, and I had always wanted to know about crypto. Mm-hmm. And I went on to Udemy and took a blockchain course. And I was like, whoa, okay. It really opened my mind up. So I guess that was like 5 years ago now. And doing my research, outside of work every night, just grinding. I found helium. And that was really my first entry into Deepan. I think for a lot of people, that's the case. Helium kind of pioneered the Deepan space in many ways, and started off getting a hotspot, and then started deploying with friends, and then started a referral program and expanded from there, and built it out to, I think, 70 rooftop installs, and was like, okay, this is interesting. There's other projects that follow suit. So found Hive Mapper and got in really early there, and started just pitching my Uber and Lyft drivers on it, and built out a fleet to about 100 drivers across most of the US, some in South America. and did the same thing with Demo. So really expanded my fleet there and just tapped into my networks I'd built out. So, I had Helium, homeowners, and most of them had multiple cars. So I was able to get them connected, and same with my drivers in the Hive Mapper fleet. And then, I was out for a wedding in California, actually, and I met up with Ariel, the CEO of Hive Mapper, and we were sitting down just having a discussion really in the early days of Hive Mapper. And it was really during that discussion I decided I was going to start a YouTube channel. So that's been a lot of my focus the last year is building out the YouTube channel and just getting the word out about DePIN, because exciting stuff happening right now.
Yeah, I can totally relate. So I've always felt like the correlation between solar products and DePIN is so close, especially between like just the weather sensors and things like that they deploy on. So I did a lot of like commercial solar projects. I did some residential stuff as well, but a lot of what I did was kind of the larger scale solar stuff. So we had a lot of those weather stations for like our trackers that would track the sun, and if the wind got too strong, it would go into a stow mode. Same with snow. It had like all these different like smart readings and things.
So is it mostly commercial or utility scale that you did?
It was mostly commercial, up to 1 megawatt. So like the largest that you could go before it was considered utility scale, basically, here in the state of California. But then we would like cluster some. So we would build like 3 megawatts in a fence, but it would be like parcels that all touched. And so we would cram them together, and we would have to do this special NEMA application through PG&E for it. But yeah, it was just 12 years of my life in solar. So it's really funny. So were you the guy going around giving people the panel to break, the break test? Did you ever?
I did train on the panel break kit. I did. That's funny. You know that. Yeah. So SunPower. We used to do the brake kits because we had the cells that had the copper backing and they wouldn't shatter the same as others. That's so funny that you know that.
That was one of the selling sticks. Was like you'd give them the little panel sample in the bag and like, here, try and break it.
I probably still have some of those laying around somewhere. That's so funny.
Yeah. So now my brother's a licensed contractor now, and he's doing a lot of residential stuff. But yeah, after 12 years in solar, it's like you get to a point where you just can't learn anything else, and the challenge is sort of gone. And so you with 15 years in solar, I think you get it.
Yeah. Yeah. I got to the point where it was, because I moved to Chicago. Actually, I did work in DC for a year, still in the solar industry, a little bit different though. I was working with larger commercial and utility scale. I was working for a drone service company. So we were flying drones with infrared sensors,
looking for hot spots and stuff.
Spots, exactly. Yeah. So did a lot of work with companies out of California, and that I was there for about a year, and then got the job in Chicago, and it was great. I mean, but the business model was like we see with a lot of businesses now, where it's okay, we're going to lay people off and give you more and more and more work, and it got to the point where it's like
you're doing 3 people's jobs with 1 person's pay.
Yeah, and just putting out fires. And I'm like, I'm not even doing what I was hired to do, which was train people. Now I'm just like answering emails, putting out fires, and like I was managing 10 states. I'm like, this has gotten to be too much. So that's what I was like, I'm going to segue into something else. And I was already building up the side hustles. I was like, you know what? I think it's time to hang up the solar cleats, if you will. And
that's
move
funny.
Over.
Yeah. I did. So I particularly did mostly solar O&M towards the end. So it was a lot of dealing with the hot spots and stuff like that. I started upselling cleaning services, and that was one of our biggest money makers. Was we bought this little robot that would sit on the row of panels and just drive across the row, and we would put that on like the water treatment plant, like that service the city. we would go clean their solar, and they would have us come twice a year, and it was like $30,000 every time we went out there. I mean, the robots paid for themselves 10 times over in the first year. I think it was unbelievable. But yeah, so I did a lot of like managing the trucks and the guys and the parts. And so when you're talking about your RWA devices and putting those in all of the trucks, Ubers, etc., it's kind of the same thing. Is like you just look at it as I'm going to like deploy this device and that device is going to be out there as an operating asset for me while this other person's going about their business. So,
Absolutely. In fact, there's some overlap because some of my work, I worked with the business owners towards, the last part of my career in solar. So I've set them up with demo devices in their fleets at their companies so they could
right.
manage their vehicle fleets for their businesses. So, but yeah, there is a lot of overlap, and a lot of the videos I put out are I try to make them educational. So I did a lot of the sales trainings, especially after COVID. We did a lot of Zoom trainings, right? So there's certainly a lot of overlap with what I did there and what I'm doing now. So, but I like this space so much. It's just so exciting.
So exciting. It's the only place you can show up and be in a knowledge deficit still every day. It's just like growing so far, so fast in every which direction. It's, it's just a constant challenge. And then, and then you add all the crazy characters in the mix.
there are some crazy characters. Some of them are no longer in the space. Some of them got exited the space after the last bull run, which is probably a good thing.
There's always a cycle. There's like always a cycle. It seems like because the ones that were here when I first started, they're mostly not here. I don't know. There's the few that I really gravitate towards that have been here a long time, and I show up and support their channel all the time because you have to support the people that show up and really put in the effort because it does the cycle. It will turn and burn here. Definitely.
For sure. You see real quickly the ones that, especially in the market's down or you're in a bear market, the ones that disappear, and then you see the ones that continue to build. And not only that, but there's some that just shill stuff and are looking to make money off of their followers. And there are ones that actually give you like objective viewpoints and bring real value, right? And care about their audience. So I'd like to think we're seeing more and more of the good good people in the space.
The space maturing. I feel like the space is maturing a little bit. At least it feels like it is more recently. So
yeah,
we'll see what happens when the faucets turn on and everybody's rich again and the money starts flowing and people act bananas.
Yes, that's when it's so important to touch grass because one of the things I've started to really pay close attention to is that fear and greed index. And especially when the market's up, it's really hard to ground your emotions sometimes, and like take a step back because everything is, so euphoric. And, that's something especially the last 6 months where I'm like, okay, like let's take a step back and kind of ground ourselves and look at this more objectively. But
exactly. So tell me, with the DPIN real world asset space, what products are you most excited for? Like, let's just say in the next, like maybe 5 years, where do you see this kind of going? Do you think that tokenization of everything is going to occur all at once?
It'll be over time, right? You have to think when you look at real world assets, there's going to be a lot of regulatory things that need to be worked through, especially when it comes to like real estate. I think, from a real estate perspective, it's kind of interesting. It'd be like, investing in a timeshare overseas where it's very easy to just, buy a percentage and tokens, right? I think it's going to remove a lot of barriers to open up investment for a lot of people all over the world, which is pretty cool. The projects I'm most excited about, I think, so you have your hive mappers, you have your demos, that are collecting data. Okay. And I think with the emergence of AI now, all of a sudden you can take very large data sets and make them very useful and derive value from them. So the thing I like about those networks is I think they can turn on the revenue faster, right? Because you can monetize data pretty quickly. Then you have like the infrastructure plays like your GeoNets, your Helium. I think those types of networks are really exciting, but they take a little bit longer to mature, right? Because you have to build up the network first, and then you have to get usage on the network. And I think we're starting to see some of that with GeoNet, a great example of a project that just continues to to get things done, and we see the flywheel effect coming into play where revenue's coming in, it's generating token buys from the revenue, and then it creates a deflationary event where you actually take tokens out of the supply. And I think because of that, you look at GeoNet's price chart, and it's held up better than most of the other stuff in crypto because it's actually bringing value. I think, though, to answer your question, the thing I'm most excited about in this space are the GPU aggregators. Okay, because on one end, I like the data collection side because now with AI, it's going to make the data valuable, but also you need to power the AI. And we're about to see huge breakthroughs when it comes to agentic AI, especially. AGI is coming, but I like the networks that are powering that, the GPU networks. And, there are a handful of them out there that are seeing a lot of usage. You have your Akash network, right? IONets out there, you have Render, Nosana, and they're all, I think, going to be really useful for inferencing or running AI. But then a project that I've been talking to a lot is Exabits. Have you heard of Exabits?
I've not.
Okay. Exabits is one. They haven't launched their token yet. They're building out legit AI data centers. All right. So they're building out data centers with thousands of high-end NVIDIA GPUs where they can go head to head with your AWSs, and you can actually train real AI models and run them. So I think that's the sector I'm super excited about is, the actual GPU networks that are powering AI.
Yeah, I mean, I can definitely see how tokenization of everything can occur. I mean, our data is valuable, and if there is any a testament to that, it would be Facebook, because they have essentially built their empire on monetizing our data. And so, yeah, so I see that. And also, when I was growing up, my family was selected to be one of the Nielsen family ratings. So they sent home the little sheet, and we had to fill out which shows we were watching. We all got paid $1 or something. But it's imagine if that was built into your Roku or your smart TV. You just download an app, select to sell your data, and then it's tokenized through this app that you've downloaded on your television. So I don't know. I mean, there's just so many different ways you can tokenize things, and there's value in it. Obviously, they were paying us back then. I mean, not that that's a lot by today's standards.
Right.
But, I mean, $1 in the 90s felt like a lot.
Seriously though, yeah, it is very different. But that's a great point. I mean, for a long time, we've had these big centralized entities monetizing all of our data. I think now, it's really going to give us, the people, the opportunity to monetize our own data to an extent and make that a lot easier to distribute that value amongst people, right? With the blockchain. So yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on that.
Yeah, for sure. So we do have a little bit of a party to have with you guys. I told our friend here we were going to have a party since our trade war is going so good and we have a 90-day pause. We're going to celebrate. I will have you all know my Latina grandmother hates when I reference Donald Trump in my shows.
Yeah, I bet. He's a very polarizing person.
But I'm yeah, he did it. So yeah, the charts are looking a little healthy. I think I will pull up the charts here for us for a little bit. Let's dive right in and take a look at it. I got nothing for you guys. Oh my gosh, my charts were working. Let me close that window and reopen it for you guys. Yeah, usually I was happy today. I was saying before we came live that my computer wanted to update everything, any and everything. I was like, this is a great time. This is a great time to do that. So, okay, let's see if I can make this work now. We're going to share screen. And there it is. Well, oh no, it's not. I have to add it to the stage. We got this, guys. We got this. All right. Look at this nice little green candle here. Ooh. Yeah, it looks pretty. So yeah, let me get back to the screen here. We were just trending a little sideways. People were super scared, you guys. It was looking ugly. This was 2 days ago. We had a little bit of a fake recovery, dipped out. Everybody was saying that we were going to go into this deep recession, doom and gloom. And now the tariffs are paused for 90 days. Now, are the tariffs going to be paused for 90 days? You know, we don't really know.
That's a good question. They said, I think the 10% reciprocal tariffs are still on. And then the China tariffs are still on. But that'll give them some time to negotiate. And I think it'll be interesting to see how the China situation plays out. For sure.
It will. And it's a matter of who can hold out the longest, I feel like. And it's, I don't know. I feel like we're pretty stubborn and, Americans can be stubborn.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I think part of this play, right, was the leverage that China had when it was us against the whole world was a lot different than what it looks like now and I think we're still need to process what happened today, but I think now we're kind of isolating China to an extent. So I think we're pulling back some of that leverage. So, and then have you been paying attention to like what was going on with the 10-year treasury rate and what China was doing?
Yes.
Yeah, so
how they were trying to manipulate that. Yes.
Yeah. So that's a big factor that they were playing into, I think.
We allow foreigners to participate in our stock market. Like in other countries, we're not allowed to go participate in, the Chinese stock market. I mean, I don't think we are.
Yeah. Besant was talking about like pulling Chinese stocks from our markets. I mean, he said it wasn't off the table, right. But the 10-year treasury rate is going to be really important because we have $9.2 trillion in debt that needs to be rolled over this year.
Right. So, yeah. I think in fall it expires, right? Or like between summer and fall, like all of these were supposed to expire and they're all due. Yeah.
Exactly. And I think so. I think part of what Trump's trying to do is push down that 10-year rate because if you think about the math here, for every 1% that 10-year rate comes down, it'll save the U.S. roughly $92 billion a year in interest against our deficit, which is a substantial amount. Now, what China was doing, because China holds a lot of our bonds, and they were essentially starting to dump bonds and sell them off, which pushed that rate up and was basically doing exactly the opposite of what Trump wanted. Right. So I think from one standpoint, obviously that was he was feeling a lot of heat from that. But the other thing I was reading through is, you have a lot of high net worth individuals whose portfolios are partly equities and stocks, but then partly bonds. And generally they use the bonds as a way to kind of hedge. So when the stock market drops, normally the bond side of their portfolio actually appreciates. But when China was doing that, they were actually just having the opposite
driving
effect.
It both.
Yeah, so they were losing on both sides.
Both, yeah.
So I think Trump was feeling a lot of pressure from people on that,
I was in multiple spaces yesterday with TradFi, and they were all like, bear market indicators all present. This is going to be the worst downturn. And I'm just thinking like, I feel like I'm numb to it now because so much has happened in my lifetime.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's like, I like, this doesn't seem like any big deal.
Well, also you have to think for traditional finance people, they're like a 10% drop. We're like, man, that's like every morning in crypto. What are you talking about? Like we see 10% moves are nothing.
10%'s nothing. It's what, 10% was not exciting, which is why we ended up here in the first place.
Right. Exactly.
Like,
become numb to it to an extent.
You totally do. You totally do. So let me ask you. So I do some of my charting here on Webull. What are your plays that you have? I usually go over Bitcoin, Ethereum. I came in the last bull market, and so I have a pretty substantial ETH bag that is down. Are you Ethereum heavy as well?
I own some Ethereum, but
Okay.
I own a decent amount of Solana. I was
Okay.
fortunate in the last bull run. I got in Solana like $11, and then it got spikes way up, right?
Wow. I did not know Solana went under 100. I don't think I realized that
It
yesterday. Oh
did.
my God.
The
Yeah.
fear was there. I mean, you look at
Yeah.
where the fear's been now for the last month and a half. I mean, it's been pretty wild. And yeah, like before this turn today, a lot of people were calling for Bitcoin down into like the upper 60s potentially. Solana down to 70, and then it's amazing how quickly things can shift, right?
So, 90 days, it feels almost like he's picking particular timelines too. So that would put us April, May, June, July. We're looking at 4th of July now that it'll be back on.
Oh,
It's so patriotic of us.
it's gonna be a Liberation Day too.
I always talk about he loves using the number 4. I'm really big into numerology, and my birthday is 4/4, and so I always talk about, like, that's always stood out to me that he always picks the number 4 for things. And so yeah, I'm like interested to see what happens if he's going to pick that as like his tariff increase date, if like he's only kicking it down 90 days, because I have a feeling we could see ourselves back here. And especially if the feds don't cut rates. Do you think feds are going to cut rates?
So that's the question. I mean, by the way, funny you're in numerology. My mom's like super into numerology.
Oh, is she?
Yeah. Like birth sign, all that stuff. Yeah. For my birthday, she got me like a whole like write out on my next year. And
that's so cool. Yeah, my mom used to always clip that out of the paper for me. That's funny.
But as far as the rate cut, so I put out a video about this about a month and a half ago about how I thought we would start to see the May odds tick up. I don't think we're going to have an emergency cut, especially now, right?
Yeah, wait, no, not now.
No, and that was something that people were like starting to put out there. Jerome Powell doesn't like to be bullied, and it's not the first time him and Trump have kind of like been at odds,
clashed,
right? Yeah. So, I think Jerome Powell, I wouldn't want to be in his shoes. I'll tell you that much. Like his job has gotten so much more difficult after already dealing with COVID and inflation and everything. And now he's just got curveballs and moving targets left and right. So I'm looking at the odds right now. I think we saw a tick up on the May chance, but now we're looking at, 84% chance of no change in May. So May was never like super likely, but it was moving up. The worst things got.
Right. And they had that emergency closed door meeting, but obviously nothing came of that because we haven't heard anything.
Yeah, the Fed minutes are today. So the Fed meets 8 times a year, and then 3 weeks later, roughly, they have their minutes where they give us the breakdown. That's this. I think it's this afternoon.
This afternoon we'll get it. Oh wow.
So they'll probably touch on some of what they discussed in that meeting. But of course, now since they had that meeting, everything just changed again.
Right.
So I think June we could potentially see a cut. The question that it comes down to whether or not we see inflation from these tariffs, right? Because Jerome Powell has to look at whether or not we're going to have inflation. If inflation is going to tick back up, it's going to make it really hard for him to drop rates. And but 10% tariffs. I think that's in a range where we shouldn't see a ton of inflation from that. I think if you watched Scott Bessett's interview with Tucker Carlson, did you watch that?
Which interview with Tucker Carlson?
Scott Bassett.
No, I did not. No, that one just came out, didn't it?
Yeah.
I didn't see it yet.
Definitely worth watching. But he was talking about how Trump put 20% tariffs on China in his last presidency, and they analyzed it, and it came out that it only caused about 0.7% inflation from a 20% tariff on China. So, the thought is a 10% tariff, if that's where things land, it should not have a huge impact on inflation, and whatever impact it has should be a one-time inflationary event and then settle into the markets.
Right.
Right. So if that's the case, and then we do see, inflation stable out, I think we could see a rate cut in June. But again, it's going to depend on, what happens in the economy, what happens with the markets, what happens with China. There's still a lot of uncertainty, frankly.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, there is a lot of uncertainty. And like I say, he says the 90 days we see the markets pump, but how long is it before he turns around and has some new rhetoric that just changes everything and we're right back here. And then it's inflation, rate hasn't changed, and things are looking bad. Relations are deteriorating internationally, and the tariff deadline is approaching.
Yes. How are you feeling? I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic, but how are you feeling about, the pump today and looking forward? I mean, what are your thoughts? Like, are you like, oh, I'm deploying all my capital? Like, are you kind of taking a wait and see approach?
My capital is deployed.
Okay.
Oh yeah. So I mean, there's not a whole lot of liquidity on the side. So I mean, but I'm not super emotional about it because I know where my end game is and where I see things going. So it's like it's such a long game for me that I don't, like you say, we're used to these types of swings in crypto, and not having my liquidity in at these levels, it's like, I didn't expect us to still be down so low this long. All of the good news has been there that like we're going to adopt this on a national level. But yeah, it's like once that hits, I feel like we're going to have a run on Bitcoin and everything's going to run. It's going to be crazy. So yeah.
Yeah. I agree. I mean, you look at, so all the Bitcoin buying, and I talk to this about with suburban crypto all the time, right? Mm-hmm. So we were like, how is the Bitcoin price just not continuing to move up with all the buying that was happening? But a lot of it was happening OTC. Mm-hmm. And, so if you look at the supply now on exchanges and OTC desk, it's drying up. And I think the supply squeeze is going to happen. And whales have been accumulating even during this down period. Whales have been buying. Retail's been shaken out, and we see this always, right, time and time again. But I'm in the same boat. Like I got caught off guard with, in December. Obviously, hindsight, everyone's like, oh yeah, we should have like cashed out at the top. But it's like, who knew that all this was going to come and the market would drop the way it did? It was definitely ended up being a buy the rumor, sell the news event where a lot of that had been baked into the markets. But hindsight's 2020, right? So yeah. I was pretty well deployed as well. I think most people were under the impression that, hey, we're going to see the market cycle repeat what we've seen in prior market cycles, and it just didn't play out that way.
And you know what? And has it not played out that way? Because we might still be in that weird little accumulation pocket. Like I haven't seen anybody chart that in a minute, and like that pocket actually has like a 30% dip range, and we've never broken out of that. And so I think as long as we haven't broken out of that range, everything is still according to the 4-year cycle. Now, whether it continues to go on beyond that, I think is what everybody's wondering now, because it's like, it's not just a normal 4-year cycle if we're looking at, all of these states buying up Bitcoin, and then if the US buys Bitcoin and then other countries are going to follow suit. I almost feel like we have tabled the let's purchase Bitcoin for the reserves conversation to let states front run the purchase, because once the federal level triggers the purchase, then all the other country nations will follow suit. So you almost need the states to kind of get in there first. But of course, I'm here in California, and we have nothing for a bill like that proposed.
A lot of states have, and we're seeing movement there. As far as other nations, I think you're absolutely correct. In fact, I think it's already happening. It's been rumored for some time. We don't know how much Russia owns. They don't really disclose, but we know that China is the second largest holder, and we know that BRICS Plus had a big conference in the fall of last year, and they're looking. I mean, they're talking about launching their own currency to de-dollarize that's backed by gold and Bitcoin, and it seems as though they've been accumulating Bitcoin behind the scenes already. So I think that's happening. Mm-hmm. And yeah, so the U.S. I think after we start to purchase, and they're throwing out different ways to do it. Right, it can't be a tax on the citizens. Right, that's the big thing. They don't want to cost us any money, so they're trying to find neutral ways to buy it. I think they'll come up with some ways.
I have speculated on the channel that they're going to take down Michael Saylor for a Ponzi scheme and just take all of that. It's like 500,000 Bitcoin.
Oh, I hope not. that would be really horrible for the market.
I mean, but like think about like all the Silk Road, Bitcoin. It's basically the same thing. It's just you just pick this person and said that they're a bad guy, and you've taken all the money that they've worked to accumulate.
Oh, nightmares! I mean, if they did that, it'd probably crash the markets when they did it.
Oh God, absolutely.
It'd be a great buying opportunity. But yeah, I mean, they did straight up just like take the Silk Road Bitcoin. They're like, well, this is ours now.
This is ours now.
Reserve. Yeah,
and then Biden sold half of it. Like how crazy? Then Biden sold half. That's just crazy.
They still haven't like released the audit on that about like definitely like showing our holdings. Right? They're supposed to be releasing that info, I think.
The Doge hopefully is. I would hope so. Yeah. I mean, they went and checked out Fort Knox, didn't they, to see where our gold reserves are?
I think, but I never saw anything on that either. I never saw a follow up on that. I wonder if they got in there and they're like, just like echoes. There's like nothing in there. And they're like, well, we just not going to tell anybody.
Let's take a look at this. Here, I'm gonna pull up this and add this to the stage. Look at our crypto bubbles. I saw you guys were talking about Fartcoin in there. So yeah, Fartcoin is up 32%. Wow. The other day I was talking about Fartcoin because I was like, I would never ever buy Fartcoin. And then since I've said that, it's up like 90% in the last 3 days. So I mean, maybe I should have bought some Fartcoin. I have a big bag of Pepe and that's only up 15%. So I'm trying to see if I have anything else in here.
It's a beautiful site.
It is beautiful. But again, I wonder how long it's going to last. Hello, my beautiful Joes in the chat. I usually do this funny little like welcome to the chat greeting. I didn't do it today because we are doing things a little differently today, guys. But hello, Jojo. Hello. We were messaging each other. So, Deepan, you are amazing. So you are live streaming. You are on X, yes, and on YouTube?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're just D-Pen Connection as your name shows there, yeah?
That's correct, yeah.
Okay, cool. Yeah. Everybody go give him a follow. He's teaching everybody about D-Pen devices. And yeah, you've been great to have on the show. I don't know. What else do you have for us? Do you have anything else that you want to add? Anything else?
Let's see. So yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people are in this period where they're like, we don't know what to do here. I personally, the way I'm treating this is I'm pretty well deployed, but
Suburban's all. I'm gonna follow him now.
Suburban. I love Suburban.
We met through Suburban. Yeah, we met through Suburban. So my first D-Pen exposure was through Suburban. He was my very first sponsor when I first got into content creation. It was February of last year. And so he sponsored me for a month and we've just been friends ever since. And yeah, I've learned so much about D-Pen and RWAs and mining and things like that. So
he's great people. We talk all the time about this stuff, and no, it's fun. I think if you look at this, so you look at the last market cycle, we had the 2 peaks, but the market cycles before that we had 3, and I think that it's going to be weird to see how this plays out. I mean, the last market cycle, and I've been kind of thinking, like, to your point, like we have had a Bitcoin bull run, but we haven't seen the altcoin season that like we've wanted to see. And I've spent a lot of time just looking at charts, trying to understand why. And I think partly it's that in the last market cycle, people were stuck inside with COVID. They couldn't spend money. They had extra savings. They had stimulus come in, and they had the means to pour money into risk on assets. I just think this time around, we haven't seen people have really the means to just have money to play with as much. Mm-hmm. So I think we could see, if rates start to get cut, I think, downstream, we could see people start to get in a better financial position and we could see an alt season. Mm-hmm. but I would hope that we're going to see some sort of bounce here. I mean, we saw one today, but I mean like a meaningful bounce. I don't know that we're going to see like a parabolic alt season immediately.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, in the May to June to July timeframe, we could definitely see a bounce across the board. And I don't know. We'll see where it plays out from there.
Yeah, you're probably right. Depending on like rate cuts, if rate cuts don't occur till the second half of the year, and then we're looking at like all of the different ETF approvals, different states potentially purchasing Bitcoin reserves. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things that could happen in the second half of this year.
For
Plus,
sure.
if they ever announce Doge payments to everybody, like,
Yeah.
I mean, that would be amazing.
That would be huge. I actually did put a video out about that like a week ago, and I mentioned that the Doge payments would be really big. We just talked about what happened during COVID, right? I think the Solana ETFs could be a huge catalyst too, because we're looking at ways to bring new money into the space, new liquidity in. The Solana ETFs would be able to bring a lot of liquidity in, and it would, people that are Solana bag holders would then see a pump in their assets, which I think could flow into altcoins. The other thing is the stablecoin legislation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So there's already several banks, Bank of America being one, that said they're going to launch a stablecoin if that legislation gets passed. So imagine a world in which you can have people move their dollars on chain through their bank without having to jump through hoops with Coinbase and paying fees and all that. I think that could absolutely be a massive catalyst to bring a lot of new money in. So that's all stuff that's coming likely later this year.
Yeah, I agree. I try to catch some of the federal meetings and things like that. I like kind of geek out on the political side of things. And so they had a meeting, and one of the senators had referred to it as, oh, we'll put a US dollar in everyone's pocket in the world. And everyone that has a cell phone and an internet connection. And I was like, aha, that is the stick. They want to make it so that more people are putting their dollars into the US economy, but just via their phones. So yeah, we're gonna rug pull the world.
Yeah, I think it's important though that it's that stable coins not CBDCs. Okay.
Right. Yeah. I mean, but they still, the stable coin legislation's allowing for, clawbacks and, things like that. So it's still, we're just not calling it a CBDC, but it still kind of is a CBDC. Like that one, I mean, you look at the acronyms for them all look like federal dollars,
That's true. That's true. And that's scary. I mean, you'll still have the ability to keep it in other crypto assets, and you still have the ability to have self custody. But yeah, you're right. If they have it in there, they can claw back your stables. That's a little bit worrisome, and they'll have total insight then into all your transactions very easily. I mean,
right?
Yeah, that's not fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, that's the stuff I'm always thinking about. Like, well, what are they not telling me? Like they're telling me a lot, but what are they not telling me? I know the documents that they're looking at to pass is like much bigger than what they actually are talking about. And a lot of times what they talk about in those meetings on the live stream, it's not even really about the legislation. It's more about their feelings about the legislation, like whether they're for it or against it. And it doesn't really give you a whole lot of insight into like what the document looks like. So then you have to go find the document if it's even posted on whatever federal agency website. And now, trust me, I've gone down that rabbit hole before. I will totally do that. But yeah, I don't have enough time in my life because I will.
That's a really good point, though. Yeah, I mean, it's like, what aren't they telling us? They're like, yeah, it's like too good to be true. Normally, it's too good to be true.
Yeah.
So you mentioned, so you hold a good amount of Ethereum. Ethereum obviously has been like the one asset that just, I think we're at the same price that we were back in like 2018.
So painful. Yeah, it's just painful. Yeah, it was down at like the 700 range around COVID, and then it went up to like 1200. But the majority of like what I entered into ETH at was, the threes. like twos, threes, fours, some fours, you know, and then all the money that I lost on NFTs and stuff. And
Oh,
so I kind of, my approach to meme coins has been with the rose colored glasses off because of meme coins. And so I've always kind of just been a little suspicious, but I will, if a meme has, you know, likability and there's a lot of people behind it and it looks like it's trendy, like I'll totally jump on a meme trend. Like I'm not afraid of that. You know, I'm glad that I've pivoted, because if I didn't, I mean, I wouldn't be in as good a position this market cycle. So yeah.
absolutely. For a while, I was very much deep in focused, and I was just so anti meme coin. And then I got to the point where I'm like, well, we haven't seen a massive rotation into a lot of these, other utility markets where just because I think they should go there doesn't mean it's going to happen. So I started taking a small percentage, 5 to 10%, kind of playing around with whatever the narrative was, which it's been mostly meme coins. Did pretty well, lost on a lot, did pretty well on some, left a lot of money on the table and didn't take as much profit as I should have in many cases. But, that's the name of the game, right? And, but I'm glad that I did pivot and do a little bit there too, because I did come out ahead for sure.
Yeah. 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 At one point I had take some of my Solana winnings and I had moved it over into Bitcoin, and I bought more dog with it, and I just purchased as much dog as I could. And I remember at the time thinking like, oh, this is so brilliant. And then I was happy that I got it out of the Solana ecosystem, and oh my gosh, it's down so bad this morning. Like I finally looked at it and I just thought, ay. And now it's popped today. I should have probably bought some more when it's down this far, and I was telling everybody, oh, easy 10x from here. Well, yeah, famous apparently. Last words.
It's how it always goes. It's how it always goes. I mean, I swear, you speak things into existence. Like, it's like clockwork. It always happens that way. So what are your other holdings then? So you have Ethereum, you have
Bitcoin. I do have some Bitcoin. Yeah, so I'm deployed in ETH, Bitcoin, Solana. I'm in Cardano, and then is that it? ETH, Solana, Cardano, Bitcoin. Those are it. Those four. And then I've got like memes on those. And so then what my plan is to scale out of those and put it all just into the main coin, and then hold on to that. And like, I am totally going to be completely savage this cycle and stable out though.
Yeah, so I'll tell you the one thing, there's a specific fear and greed index that I found that's been like really, really good at marking the tops for a while. And we saw it back last March, and it topped out, it hit 90. And then within 2 weeks, the market topped. We saw it again in December, but that's the hard part though, is it's, the plan to move into stables, but then like actually executing on it, it's so difficult when the market's in a euphoric state. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can remember last time people were telling me to sell last time, and I didn't understand stable coins last cycle to even. I'm like, sell into what? Like you just put it into what, fiat? Like I just didn't get it, and no one told me, and I was just too dense, I guess. But yeah, this time I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna stable it and ride it out, because you watch that go down so much, and you've done it before. It's like you don't want to do it over and over again. But yeah, it is hard. I remember having people tell me, yeah, sell, and I didn't, and the market cycle lasted longer than expected, and I'm glad that I held on, because I made more money by hanging on. But at the same time, once it starts going down, and you know how it is, it's like down 25% one day, 30% the next day, 20% the next day. And now you're looking at it going, well, I can't sell now.
I know. It's so brutal. It's so brutal. And then on the way down, like you're like, oh, I don't know. But then you get to the point where like you see, especially near the top, you're like, okay, well, if I get a 10x from here, like, you start getting these thoughts, and you start to sometimes lose the comprehension of how much difference that money can make in your life. And then it's not until the market really drops that you realize, oh yeah, that would have made a big difference.
Right.
Yeah.
You
kind of get stuck.
you can't get stuck on a particular number. Like you have to kind of watch the signs and then not be too emotionally attached to it either.
Exactly.
So
No, 100.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. Yeah, this is. I don't know if I can share this here.
Yeah, I think you can. I can see. I can see you've got something queued. Anyway.
Yeah, it's not letting me push it up there though.
Oh, I think I can maybe add it. Let me add it. There you go.
Okay.
That
So
one.
this,
Yeah.
yeah. So this is the Fear and Greed Index. So I thought this was really interesting. Like I was looking for trends. What we saw in the last market cycle is when you got up to greed, we saw it actually have a prolonged period, and I think that's why we had alt seasons, because retail is able to enter and actually keep that going. Now, if you look at this market cycle, this thing hit above 90. It was really like the first week of March 2024. If you remember, the crypto market cycle then topped 2 weeks later, right towards the third, fourth week of March. So again, as a leading indicator, saw the same thing in December. So right around Thanksgiving, we saw, this top out again at 93. Lo and behold, like 2.5 weeks later, the total market cap topped out again. So, this is something for me more so on the high end. I'm going to be following very closely moving forward, because it's a good way to keep yourself in check and kind of touch grass again and just be like, okay, like maybe it's a good idea to start moving into stables and kind of de-risk a bit,
Yeah. Right. And I think that's just it. I think last time I did I did do some stop losses. Like Cardano was one of my stop losses where I went, you know what? I think I made a bad trade on this one. And because I bought in so high and I could tell the market was just taking it all back, I was like, I'm not even going to stay and watch the pain. I just sold it, and I was so happy I did, because I sold it like 275 and then we went down to 33 cents or 25 cents or whatever it was. So I am back in at 33 cents.
Heck yeah.
Is my average this cycle. So I'm in a good position on Cardano, and I do think Cardano is going to do really well this cycle. And then I have some memes on Cardano, even like the SNET community. I have the what's it called? Hosky. I have the Nike token when the pig. Do you remember when the Charles Hoskinson's pig?
Oh yeah. So I think that's a really smart plan though. Like, so you're picking the chain and then picking the top meme coins on each chain.
Yes.
Essentially.
Yeah. Because to me, it's like I can get a better entry of that, and then once I sell it, I'm getting straight back into straight Cardano or straight Solana, and so I'm just finding that as an easy way to kind of maximize my holdings.
I think that's smart. Because I think the top one, as a rotation happens into a chain, I think you're absolutely right. Like the top meme coin on that chain will outperform the chain for sure. It should, in theory, right? So,
right. And then sell it for that, and then hang on to it. And yeah, I mean, I have a lot of faith in, the chains that I hold, and the meme coin communities that I hold. They're like, on ETH, it's Pepe. On Bitcoin, it's Dog. So, and I picked Dog because I'm like, well, it's the first meme coin on Bitcoin, like, of course. And it's kind of the only one that stood the test of time. So we're just still waiting for some major central exchange listings, but it's Runes, and the Runes technology is just super clunky and integration's not easy. And so I think that's really what's holding it back more than anything. Unless it really is coming down to people just won't list it unless you give them the listing fee.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and that's really fun. I've talked to a lot of teams about this. The listing fees during a bull run are like 5 to 10x what they are during a bear market. It's crazy. And they ask for crazy stuff. They want like 10% of the supply. They want. I mean, the demands are just wild from some of these exchanges.
They are the Aloe Bros. It's great. So. Well, perfect. Well, I have to wrap this show up here, but I thank you for joining me today, and I would love to actually have you on the show again. It's been fun hanging out with you.
Good. I hope I didn't like take over
no, you're great.
Your schedule or anything. So
no, we just my show. I have fun like trying different things with it, sticking little videos and clips and segments, and just trying stuff and seeing what works, seeing what people like, and. And I've wanted to have people on the show. You're just my first guest. So,
oh, no way.
You're my very first guest. Yes, you are. Yeah.
Well, I'm honored. Thank you so much for bringing me on. It's so exciting. And I need to learn. You
So-
have some really good graphics and stuff. I need to learn how you do all that.
yeah,
It's really
we
good.
will. We can definitely chat, and I will help you because it's fun. I don't know. I have fun with it. I can let my creative side go.
Yeah, no, it's great.
So,
And the
yeah.
writing, and I love the little ticker that you have on the table back there too. That's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, that is my Quotron. That's my
Love that.
Quotron. I know, isn't that cool? So, the Jail Stool community, which was Dave Portnoy, remember they launched Jail Stool
Yeah.
and sent it to him. Well, then he launched Greed 1 and 2 and put the liquidity back into Jail Stool.
Yeah.
And so, anyway, the Quotron people sent me one, and then they gave me one to give away on the channel. And so, Suburban was actually my winner.
Oh,
So
nice.
Suburban gets it. So, and then I'm trying to get one for Blocky still. We're trying to get one for Blocky. Yeah.
Very nice. Well, I
So,
lost some
yeah.
money on Greed 1 and 2, so maybe that.
Oh,
helps
did
you? For it.
Well, I think Jail
Yeah.
Stool has a discount code for you.
Yeah. Well, today's a
I'm
fun day to
just
look
teasing.
at it.
Yeah.
Where it's green. Some of the
Yeah.
recent days
Oh,
have
it's
been
way
fun.
better than when it's red. Although I've been leaving the ticker up on my TV screen. I don't know if that makes it better or worse because I'm like constantly like, oh, we're up or oh, we're down. So yeah.
Soon up
Yeah.
only, right?
Yes,
That's
I'm
cool.
ready for the banana zone round 2.
Me too. That makes 2 of us.
All right, Luke. Well, I called you Luke. Luke just texted me. Luke, I'll get back to you. Deep End Connection, thank you for joining us. If you are on my channel, go give him a follow. And if you're on
Appreciate
Deep End's channel, come follow me. I'm Julie Kinnis.
Heck yeah.
So
Heck
thanks
yeah. Right.
thanks for joining me. I look forward to having you on again.
Thank
Okay.
you so much. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
bye.